Welcome again, everyone, to this month's edition of Cledara Connects. This is our monthly webinar for our SaaS finance community. If you are new here, I'm Katie from the customer success team here at Cledara. And today we're talking about financial operations, or FinOps, as it's most commonly called. Now, I guess if we go a little step further back, why are we talking about FinOps? And the reason we've picked this subject is because efficiency seems to be the theme right now. Companies are being asked to grow more efficiently. Teams are being asked to kind of be more efficient. So FinOps plays a really key role in achieving that. And I'm really excited for the conversation we're going to have today. I think the timing is just right. And I have two really amazing guests with me today to talk us through that. We have Sam Wilkinson, the COO and co-founder of RORA, and we've got Aysha Rangrez, the accounting and finance manager from Wakelet, both very experienced in FinOps and will be sharing their insights and experience with us today. Before I ask them to introduce themselves and really get into it, two very quick housekeeping points from me. One, this is being recorded and I will be sharing it out with you all. And two, we want you to join in the conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts and comments. So we have the chat in Zoom. Feel free to leave a comment. And we also have the Q&A. We have time scheduled at the end. So please do drop your questions for Sam and Aysha, and we will make sure to answer them at the end. So, all right, let's dive in. So, Sam, if we can start with you, can you give us a quick intro to your background and your journey to co-founding RORA?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My journey began at PwC. So I joined and did a training contract in audit and accounting there. I was there for 6 years, and I really never loved it. I never really got to love that big corporate atmosphere. And I jumped ship and I started working with startups and immediately realized that this is what I wanted to do. This is what work should feel like. And I worked with startups for a little bit before meeting my co-founder, Dan. And we built RORA to provide great opportunities for accountants who hated their jobs in big corporates to get into startups and to provide startups with really great access to great accountants. And that's what we've been doing ever since. So at RORA, we provide fractional FinOps teams to startups and scale-ups to help them grow past the point where they're getting what they need from an accounting firm, but when they're not quite ready to hire full-time. That's where we help and support.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sam. And Aysha, you're nodding along. I think you've had a similar journey. You've got a lot of experience in startup as well, right?
Yes, that's true. My journey actually started in architecture at university, and then I switched over to accountancy. I literally opened the prospectus and said, what can I learn next? Accountancy. So that's how I did my degree. Then I did my professional exams, and I also came from a practice background, small practice. I was in for about 10 years before I moved across to Wakelet. Wakelet was one of my clients actually from practice, so it was quite nice walking into a company where I knew what the product was about, where I knew the directors, where I knew the team. You know, I instantly felt at home here. You know, and what we've built at Wakelet, it's just as Sam said, it's that change from being in that, you know, churning out the work, you know, accounts after accounts after accounts, to actually doing something meaningful and adding value, which is really what makes your job worthwhile.
Oh, great. Well, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people on the call today. And I really want to start by taking that step back. And I mentioned in the intro, we were talking beforehand about this drive for efficiency. So Sam, perhaps I can start with you. Where's this drive coming from, and what role does FinOps play in gaining that efficiency right now?
Yeah, well, I think it comes from there's a tough funding market right now. VCs are even struggling to raise the funds that they need. Series A startups are really getting squeezed. Obviously, there are pockets of huge growth like AI, but otherwise, if you're a founder right now trying to raise money, it's more difficult than it's been in the last decade probably. And VCs are really putting pressure on their portfolio companies to not just grow at all costs, which is how their thesis was, maybe 5-10 years ago, to capture a market. It didn't matter what you did, you just needed to capture that market. Now it's, you've got to grow, but you've got to do it sustainably. And that means you've got to use the money you've got really effectively. And where FinOps plays a part in that is bringing in the right systems and tools, bringing in the right implementations to build systems that will scale with you. So that means you don't need to constantly be spending more money, bringing in more people, but you've got systems that will allow you to grow without holding you back.
Yeah, and I think it's, connecting all of those pieces, connecting all of the dots across a business, and keeping in mind that, either the finances of the company, the VCs or the private investors, the PE, they are looking for you to, make the money last a little bit longer. At the end of the day, that's what it is, and it's really, really important in this industry, in this economy right now, and across all industries as well, that everybody is mindful. And finance professionals do have that oversight in all of areas of the business. Traditionally, finance people were just sat in the corner processing invoices, but they still knew what it was. We know how to read accounts, we know how to read statements, we know what tools are used for. It makes sense that they are the right people in the room to be helping to move in that direction, connecting all of the dots, making it more efficient, and making the operations of the business a success, and everybody wins, whether that be the people who have backed it, the founders who have, it's their idea, it's their baby, and all the team that are surrounding them and making it happen.
Yeah, I think we're really seeing that people don't want finance to, and finance shouldn't just come in and do the historic reporting. It should be about how do you drive the business forward, and that means business partnering. It means making sure that the sales team have the right numbers, that the marketing team know what their ROI is, that everyone is connected to the numbers, and it's not just a siloed function anymore. The FinOps part, the operational part of it, is making the operations of the business better.
And as you mentioned, kind of being brought in quite early on, you worked part-time, they were in the portfolio and worked part-time and full-time, and I guess Sam, for you as well. Do startups or do founders tend to think about this thing too late? It sounds like things can get complex very quickly and could potentially slow the growth down. So is this something that is new that people are thinking about too late? Maybe in your case, they thought about it just on time and kind of brought you in?
Yeah, when I came in, we were going through a fundraising round, and I was only supposed to be here for 6 months, and I'm still here 4 or 5 years later. So it's kind of like, what would where's Aysha? What does she do? We need this information. It's once you're in that position, it then becomes apparent as to how important it is. Yes, previously we were just looking at historic data. That's what the accountant did. But now we are being included in the forefront of those decisions, and sometimes even in the room, even where it's not relevant to accounts, but just to be part of that conversation. And that falls into the wider operational and strategy of a business and the direction it needs to move in for the medium and long-term future as well, how that plays in with the growth plans. So I think there's more and more knowledge being shared with finance professionals now, when it comes to the actual running of the business, whereas previously that wasn't the case. Whether people are now late to the game or not, I'm not sure. I would say that it's where it's relevant. And whether you bring somebody in-house or you use fractional services like Sam's company provide, those resources are becoming more and more apparent and available, and everybody is tapping into it as they should.
Yeah, I think we see the technology has never been more widely available. It's never been easier to run things kind of leanly and in a sort of more like a bootstrapped way than ever before. But typically we see businesses will hire in a bookkeeper because that's just the thing that they need done, and they don't want to do it themselves. They'll also often go with someone more senior, strategic CFO maybe, who will help them with fundraising, open those sorts of doors and have those conversations. And then they're missing that gap in the middle, which is the operational layer of how do you bring in the right systems, build the right processes so that you can scale. That is the bit that I think people maybe underestimate. They think that if they've got the bookkeeper and they've got the fractional CFO, finance is done, but actually there's a big gap in the middle there. That's certainly what we try and support our clients with, our startups and scale ups with. And I think it's the bit that really does help you scale and grow that business, bringing in the right tools, the right systems, the right processes to be able to grow, not kind of hold you back.
And I imagine a lot of people on the call today are perhaps in the boat of they are maybe in their company, maybe they're one or two people, a very small kind of finance team, and are looking to gain those efficiencies. So I guess maybe is there like a FinOps 101? What are some of the basics or some of the quick wins for people on the call today? In your experience, and Aysha, like when you come in, what's the first thing you'd say, okay, this is a really quick win, look at these 3 things to get set up and running to be able to be more efficient and get some things maybe automated so you've got more time to do other things?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in practice, you know, the first thing we would, when a new client walks in the door, we would say to them, okay, have you set up your bank account? Yes. Okay. Have you got online banking? Because we're not going to sit through and analyze your bank statements. I mean, this is showing how long ago I was in practice, but it's, you know what, I just want it downloaded. I want it digitally so I can manipulate it and return it to you as quickly as possible, but also then spend the time talking to you about it and adding meaning to it and making sure it's useful for you to make the right decisions. If I can recognize a pattern, if I can show you where your pain points are in terms of your cash flow, I can have those conversations with you, prompt the information out of you, and then we can have a meaningful discussion. You know, and nowadays, the way the technology has advanced, it is so easy. I mean, all banks are now connected to Xero or QuickBooks or, you know, Sage Online, whatever it's called. Definitely, you need to be digital when it comes to your accounting and record keeping. We've run a paper-free accounting system here. I've never seen a piece of paper, an invoice on a piece of paper. Everything is digital. You know, lots of people work like that, but it's also being able to manage that. So imagine we've got 100 tools nearly that we buy through Cledara, right? And it's all spread out across the team and nobody shares it properly. Nobody gets the information to the accountant properly. This is when an efficient and centrally controlled bookkeeping system and, you know, SaaS accounting tool or spend management tool will help you. You just need to have it all coming centrally to one place, into one library, and then that will make the actual traditional accounting function really, really simple, really, really streamlined and really straightforward. I mean, my job is hardly doing traditional bookkeeping and accounting anymore. It's everything else because that part of it is so automated and it just naturally falls through each other.
Yeah, getting the right tools and systems. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'd say obviously having a Xero QuickBooks is the heart of the function. Typically, we bring in something like Dext, an invoice management platform, just so that you can very quickly get all those invoices and receipts into Xero. You can automate a lot of it. We build payment runs and use tools like Telaroo for bulk payments, so you're not individually putting transactions in at your bank, which can be a big time sink. Every business we work with buys software. A tool like Cledara makes that simple, makes that easy, and controls it. Every business pays employees, and there's tools like PayFit and Xero has a payroll function, and so definitely using those is it makes things much simpler there. And then in terms of reporting, I mean, at the simplest part of it, Xero has easily customizable reports that you can build out. But then there are a whole load of tools, Fathom and Mosaic and Causal and beyond, that you can use to then report the numbers back. So yeah, I guess those are some of the ones that we traditionally see and lots of our clients use, and we use some of them internally ourselves.
I think they're very easy now to implement as well. You know, you know, if you were to say, oh, we're going to change the accounting tools that we use in-house, you know, everybody will be rolling their eyes and like, oh, here we go. You know, how long is that going to take? How long do we need to maintain two systems until we're absolutely sure that we've got everything captured? I think, you know, everything being so digital connected right now, available on the cloud instantly at your fingertips, real-time information has really made the not only the implementation, but the, you know, the willingness to embrace this change for accountants so much easier, especially in small and medium businesses. You know, in larger organizations, you might have a little bit more process to follow, to make sure, you know, everyone's trained on it, the security controls are there, and nothing falls by the way. But it's a lot easier to make change now. And I think that really helps, especially with the pace that businesses need to adapt and grow. You know, if you have the right finance person with that knowledge, you know, you've hit lucky basically.
Yeah, it's never been easier, has it?
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess there's a, you know, there's the tech layer, right? There's building out the finance tech stack, which might be, you know, a suite of tools, just like any other team needs its tools to do its different things and get them talking to each other. So I guess maybe the role of FinOps and what some people are kind of maybe already doing in their role without really realizing they've stepped in kind of like into an operations kind of role is for helping roll out those new tools. You said it's quite easy, but sometimes there is some change management within the company. There is training of some people on how to, you know, use an expense tool, how they should be submitting receipts and things like that. So and just from our point of view, you know, my role as customer success, helping our customers kind of implement new tools, you do see that some people maybe aren't so used to being the face to go out to the rest of the business and kind of go, right, guys, we're going to do something different. What advice would you have for those people who are maybe stepping into that for the first time, when you've got to take the reins and build the processes out and communicate with the rest of the business? Kind of goes back to what you said earlier about finance not being kind of so siloed and having to kind of like be more embedded.
Yeah, I can kick off with that one. I think getting buy-in is really, really important. So to get that buy-in, you really need to almost build a bit of a business case for it. It's like, this is why it's going to be much better. And to come up with that, you really have to have a mindset of, we don't want to just do things the way they've always been. We want to keep iteratively improving. We want to challenge the way that they've been done before. And, you know, finding new tools and solutions that will save time in the long run is good for the business, right? It will help the business scale. So once you've done that, getting the buy-in is really important, because that's one of the things that's going to really hold you back. Then obviously it's doing the research on the features that are critical versus the features that are nice to have. You doing the demos and then rolling it out. Once it's been rolled out, I think it's easy to then say, oh, our job is done. But actually there is definitely a piece of work that is needed to make sure that it is then taken up. People are using it, becomes part of their BAU, their kind of day-to-day. And so not forgetting that, I think, is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the buy-in is critical, and usually finance need the approval of just the directors or the board above them, you know, so we don't really have as much of a hard job having to convince lots of people in the team. If it is approved, you know it's going to be rolled out. Your job then is, as Sam alluded to, is making sure it becomes sort of a nature and a habit for the rest of the team. That's the difficult part, but it's not as difficult, because if they can hear from the top that, you know what, yeah, we need this, yes, we've done our demos, yes, we're not just replacing one system for the other because it's, you know, looks nicer or it feels, you know, more efficient. There are actually values and benefits we're going to get from this, and it will make your job easier, which will make so-and-so's job easier, which will make this easier. You know, it has a knock-on effect. So I think if you can do your research properly, go to have all the demos, ask them all the questions. Don't be afraid to go and ask for another demo. ask for the roadmap. What's coming out? You know, am I going to have more benefits, or is this a feature that I think is quite cool and will help me, but you're planning on phasing it out in the next 12 months? Get all of that information out of the supplier. And I think you probably have made the right decision then.
Mm-hmm. I think talking about kind of tools and tooling, as we were, just to kind of circle back on the tools, I don't think we can not address the topic of AI and what AI in finance may look like, and what the question a lot of people are asking right now, I think, is, or curious at least, how far is it going to go? What kind of role is it going to play in making bringing that efficiency, right, and doing that? Are you seeing any tools doing it well at the moment? Is anybody interesting or on your radar for, hey, they look like they're doing something very cool in AI for finance?
I think the original AI in finance is going to be your tools like Receipt Bank and Dext and Xero with their automated bank feeds. You know, Xero wasn't just bringing in the bank feed, and Receipt Bank wasn't just attaching your invoices for you to review. It was actually doing some thinking for you. It was trying to match it. It was trying to pick up data and post it in the right place. So anything which involves the tool doing some thinking for you is an element of AI. Now, we wouldn't think of Xero and Receipt Bank or Dext as AI tools. We would say it's an automation tool. It's a standardization tool. And I think we're just going to continue seeing more and more of those tools become standard, good, recommended practice in finance. You know, I would really like to see a tool which you can feed in your management accounts, and it's obviously got the previous management accounts packs in there, and it produces you your commentary for your board pack with your analysis. So it's basically taking your FP&A tools that one step further. Because I know for every management accountant, that's probably the worst part of their job, having to do that commentary that they pass to the finance director, who takes it into the boardroom. And, you know, sometimes people read it and sometimes they don't, but it needs to be done. So if you can get that information out, you can then read it and understand it and have those meaningful conversations with them and prepare them before they go into the boardroom. That is going to add so much value to the business, and hopefully just give you that edge and help them to make the right decisions to grow.
Yeah, I'm quite bullish on AI in finance. Actually, I think it's going to change quite a lot. I think software has come in bottom up and taken a lot of the transactional work, the low value stuff, and automated it and got rid of it. I think AI, as we know it now, like the ChatGPT AI, is, I think, going to transform the entire finance stack, right from the FD and CFO all the way down, because it's got the ability to do much more strategic thinking than any bit of software we've ever seen before. So yeah, I think it's going to change a lot. There's some really interesting tools like Light and Rillet coming out that are building AI native ledgers. So it's a whole new way of basically thinking about your accounting platform. I mean, they say they are tech stack killers. I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of uncertainty there, but they're talking about this type of software that you'll never need to use another bit of software again, because it's all done through AI. Now, who knows? There's a long way to go from here to there, but it's certainly interesting. There's a lot of money being poured into the space. So I think, yeah, I think almost anything's possible.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sam. You know, I've also heard that people are building tools, AI tools that will just build whatever SaaS that you need. You know, you will just have a bot that sits on your
Absolutely.
Slack or something,
Yeah.
and it will review your processes, and it will say, this is what you need. Do you want me to build it for you? And it'll build it for you, you know. And then if you look at the accounting, and okay, let's say audit, accounting, we've got a lot of AI tools in accounting. What can AI do for audit? You know, how is it going to make it more efficient and more affordable for people? You know, audits are expensive, especially if you go to one of the big four companies. What is it that's going to break up that competition for them? Is it going to be an automated audit software? Is it going to be doing the transactional and substantive testing for you? So again, you can really analyze the results properly. You know, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, on both of those points. So the way software is built, I think, is fundamentally going to change right now.
Change the game, yeah.
You build something with a ICP in mind, and then
Mhm.
you just hope that you can sell it to enough people. I think actually software will become entirely bespoke eventually, because everyone can have an AI developer basically build them whatever they want. And on the audit point of view, I think audit will almost certainly stop being a service that's provided by humans. You heard it here first.
Wow, well, I think if there's sounds like we can build a pitch and start actually forming our own AI audit company by the sounds of it.
Yeah, if anyone wants to fund me.
Everyone on the call heard it here first. We can all get involved. On the topic of that, bringing the AI, the software stack changing, I guess then we have to talk about the skills of the people in FinOps, in finance, and how that might change then. So how could somebody then prepare for that, get ahead? You mentioned I should, take all the demos, be aware of what's out there, staying ahead. Communities, right? Having these conversations, connecting with your peers, understanding how everyone else is perhaps thinking about and doing things as well. Is there anything else you think that might change the skill set perhaps of FinOps or finance?
I think definitely, the webinars are really important. Any tools or, or services that you get a webinar on, if it's interesting for you, please go onto it and learn. It never stops. Accounting, finance professionals always have CPD to do. So it'll tick a CPD and you might learn something new that you can then implement in your business. That goes without saying. How it's going to change what finance professionals do, I'd say you're going to become more business savvy. I think you're basically might as well do an MBA in business. It's I think that's where you're going to get good value accountants. That's the way it's going to go. It's going to be much broader than just being the person who crunches the numbers. It's understanding, how you get an MVP, what your sales processes is, what your procurement process is. Are you full stack? Do you have other people in the chain with you, entering different markets? All of those traditional areas of business that you need to understand or should have some idea of are going to become more and more relevant to finance professionals. And again, it will just show that you're a more rounded individual than just a finance professional.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also there's key parts of the things that finance does that is a person-to-person interaction, like negotiation on budgets, for instance. That's always going to be one person and another person talking about where that money should be spent. And I think there's going to be this idea of a finance person supported by AI. They'll be able to do the job of 3 finance people right now, or something like that. And I think they will therefore have to be more generalist. They'll have to be more strategic. But I think I think it's, I mean, no one really knows, but I think it is a huge opportunity for people coming in to get to understand this technology better. And obviously the communities and the webinars and all of that is a big part of it. But also just getting to grips with these new tools and seeing how they can work, using ChatGPT in your day-to-day life, for instance. Yeah.
Yes, it's a bit of kind of curiosity, right? Having the curiosity just to see something that's not working and trying to make it better. And there are the tools out there to help you. At least ChatGPT, like how can you help me improve this process? As simple as that. It doesn't have to be super complex. Can really play a part. I'm conscious of time, and I can't believe it's already past. We've already spent a good 25 minutes. This has been fantastic. But I'll tell you, we'll wrap it up here. But before we go, everybody, Sam, where if anyone's interested in finding a little bit more about RORA and FinOps services, where should they kind of contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to joinrora.com and there's a big button top right that says call with us. We would love to have a chat with you for sure. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. We are always there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Aysha as well. If anyone's interested in getting in touch, how can they reach out?
Yeah, just drop me an email if you've got any questions. Katie, I'm sure you can share our details across to anybody who needs them. And if you want to know a little bit more about Wakelet, then please look at our LinkedIn page, our Twitter page. We provide edtech tools for schools and districts, predominantly in the US right now. We're hoping to bring that across to the UK and also into enterprise as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Sam and Aysha, for that amazing conversation. As I said, it has been recorded. We're making it available to everybody. And we'll see you next month in July. We're going to be talking about SaaS operations, managing your software specifically. So don't miss that one. Thank you so much, Sam, Aysha, and
Thanks,
to everybody.
Katie. Thanks,
Have a great
Aysha.
day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.